So here he, Dr. Keith Newby from the city of Norfolk, Virginia. Thank you very much, Dr. Newby.
Thank you very much for that great introduction. Thank you all. And good morning. Good morning. Everybody blessed today?
Amen.
All right, I'd like to hear that. So today's topic is this. Now, I'm a cardiologist by trade, so of course heart disease is my thing. But we're going to touch on a couple other things because I was a doctor before I was a cardiologist, meaning internal medicine first, then cardiology second. So, but of course, you know, heart disease, despite COVID, heart disease still #1 killer. And still #1 amongst African-American men and women is heart disease. So we want to do what we can to prevent, because everything in today's time is about prevention, not catching things after they've already started. We want to catch it before it becomes a problem. Amen?
Amen.
All right. So let me ask this question. I like to engage. Where'd Deacon Reeves go? Anyway. Listen, how far is my extension on this mic?
Come on.
Come on now.
Okay, because I'm going to come out there with you guys. I can stand up on a podium, but I want to engage everyone here today. So question, what is heart disease? Let's ask that question. What is it? Anybody know the definition of heart disease? I have patients all the time say, somebody told me I had heart disease. What does that mean? I explained it to them, but I want to ask you guys that question. What is heart disease? Do you know?
Working overtime.
Okay, all those are true, but they're all part of heart disease. So, and this is going to sound broad, but look at it like this. If I say to you, car, you're going to say, well, what kind of car? Are you talking about a Mercedes, a Pinto, or Gremlin? What are you talking about? See, I'm showing my age there, but anyway. Heart disease is anything that affects the heart or the great vessels. Now, the great vessels are your aorta. That's the main artery that comes out of the heart. And all of this extension, so really you're talking about the whole body essentially. If you have a stroke, that was a compromise of blood flow to the brain. That is a component of heart disease. If you have vessel blockages in your legs, that is a form of heart disease. Why? Because it's affecting part of the great vessels. So anything that affects the heart or great vessels is considered heart disease. Now, what I try to do is I break heart disease up into different categories. And I like to give people analogies that maybe help them understand kind of what this stuff is when we talk about it. So I'm going to categorize this into a couple of different categories. One is heart failure. One is coronary disease. One is valvular heart disease. And one is arrhythmias or heart rhythm problems. So I'm going to give you an analogy. I want you to look at your heart like a house. In your house, you have your foundation, you have your ceilings, you got your rooms, you got doors that go room to room, you have your plumbing, and you have your electrical circuits. And that's what composes your house. Well, your heart is the same way. You have your structure of your heart is like your house. And each room in your heart is called a chamber. And you have heart valves that are like doors that open and close that separate one room from the next. So look at it like that. Now, if you cut on your lights, as long as you pay the electric bill, you expect the lights to come on. Now, your plumbing, if you cut on your faucet, you expect the water to come out. Now, say you have, you cut on your faucet and the water comes out, but it only drips out. That means there's something that's either affecting the pressure, pushing that water through, or something wrong with the pipes. So look at coronary disease as like your water pipes in your house. You expect all your water to flow when you cut it on. Now, if it doesn't flow, that means something's blocking something. So look at coronary disease like that. If you have heart failure, that is like something wrong with actually your foundation or something in your walls. There's something in that house that's not structurally sound. So heart failure is when your heart just doesn't keep up with the demands of the body. So look at heart rhythm problems. It's like if you cut on your lights, and some people know sometimes you see your lights flicker. There's nothing wrong with it, and sometimes there is something wrong with it, but flickering lights is like a heart rhythm problem. And then if you open it and try to open and close your doors. I know I kind of got on my contractor when I did my house way back when. They kind of did a jacked up job on my doors. I mean, I'm feeling air like I'm outside. And if you don't have your doors not opening or closing well, that's like something wrong with your heart valves. So those are like our categories of heart disease. So I'm gonna talk about a couple aspects of that, and I'm gonna focus on coronary disease, and more importantly, what I want to talk to you about is reasons people develop heart disease, because that's what I want you to focus on. So let's talk about coronary disease. So when you talk about heart attacks, does anybody know what a heart attack is? Don't everybody jump up and answer one time. Okay, I'm going to help you out on this one. A heart attack is when something blocks completely or mostly blood flow to a specific part of the heart. You have three main vessels that supply the heart. You have your front wall, back wall, side, and bottom wall, and they're called the anterior descending, circumflex, and right coronary arteries. So if something blocks one of those vessels, if it completely blocks up that flow to one part of the heart muscle, that is a heart attack. And a heart attack comes as a result of plaque, cholesterol plaque, and clot that forms on top of that plaque. So that is a heart attack. So when people like walk and they try to do activities and they get chest discomfort, and that could be a tightness, pressure, whatever you call in your chest is not right. And I get these debates when I ask people about chest pain. They say, no, I don't have any chest pain. And then later on they'll say, well, doc, what about this stuff in my chest? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I got a pressure in there. And I say, well, I asked you if you had any chest problems. Well, it was not pain. I'm like, well, listen, I asked you, is anything in your chest that's not right, can you convey that to me? And that is what people, and I say all that because people feel different things, so they convey things differently. So as a physician, my job is to try to interpret what you're telling me so I can best help you be your best you. So coronary disease is defined as a blockage in that artery. So when people sometimes walk a certain distance, and look at this, and I'm gonna give you another analogy. Look at like if you have a car, you're driving your car. If you turn on your engine and you're just idling, you're not using much gas. You know, your gas is getting to the carburetor, it's firing the pistons, but you're not going anywhere, so you're not using much gas. Now, if I go out and drive in the residential section, I'm still using a little bit of gas, but still not a lot. As I drive faster and faster, I need more gas getting to that carburetor. Now, if I got a blocked fuel line, and I go past a certain speed at which that gas can get to that carburetor, what's going to happen? That car's going to start to sputter. Look at your heart like that. So sometimes when people walk a certain distance or they walk a certain speed, if they surpass what blood flow can get to that heart muscle, because the heart's trying to pump blood to your muscles, so your legs and your trunk and all your things can do what you want to do. So it has to be able to pump oxygenated blood to those areas so you can get adequate blood flow and do what you want to do. So if something's blocking that flow, when you surpass that, you may get symptoms, which would be chest discomfort. Some people get shortness of breath. Some people just say, I'm tired. Now, I don't want you to say just because you're tired, because, heck, I'm tired now. That don't mean I have heart disease. That means I've been working all week. So, but that's my job, is to try to help you work through those symptoms you're having. So that is kind of what coronary disease is. So I want to just get a background. But what I want to focus on you now about is I want to ask this question. What medical conditions can lead to you having heart problems? Does anybody know? High blood pressure is one.
High cholesterol.
High cholesterol. Diabetes, that's 3. Overweight, that's 4.
Can genetics play a part?
Number 5. Y'all guys are bright, man. I'm gonna tell you. Listen, I've been talking for 20 years. Let me not say that. I've been talking for years. I've never had a group to list all them out that fast, ever. You guys are bright. You're on it. I like it. I like that. So I can stop right now.
Because we all got it.
Listen, let's talk about high blood pressure. What is high blood pressure? Give me a definition. That you got a top and bottom number. What's considered hypertension or high blood pressure? Give me a number. Okay, 120 over 80 is normal. So, what is 121 over 80? That's hypertension. I know. I got people walk around at pressure 150 over 100. They tell me that's normal for them. I said, that ain't normal for anybody. I said, you can live in that fantasy world if you want to, but you end up being dead one day when you wake up dead, as they say. And you don't want to do that. So let me kind of tell you, definition of hypertension is if your top number is greater than 120, it's greater than 121 to 139, or 80 to 89 on the bottom number, that is stage 1 hypertension. Stage 2 hypertension is if your top number goes above 140 or your bottom number is above 90 or 90 or better. That's considered stage 2 hypertension. So you need to know that because, again, what you've probably been taught to think is likely wrong. So I don't want down. It's not to say if your pressure is 121, somebody's going to want to put you on medication for that. You know, I mean, I wouldn't. You know, I would talk to you about other things that can affect hypertension, such as what you eat, your behavior patterns, stress levels in your life, your weight, your activity or lack thereof. And I got some patients that most they do is push a remote control button all day long. That's their entire exercise. I do plenty of that. My thumb is on tip-top shape. But they're not, but their thumb is. So with hypertension, what you have to know is those things that affect, because how can you help to make sure you live your best life? That's you knowing those numbers. You know, if you're diabetic, you have to know your hemoglobin A1C level. What's your sugar running? The problem with hypertension and diabetes, especially as it relates to our people, is this. Most of those chronic illnesses, like if your cholesterol is high, or you have hypertension, or you have diabetes, most people don't feel it. So you think about it. Somebody's telling you, take this medicine, change this life around. But you say, I feel fine. That is a mindset. If you have an infection, tooth aches, you got skin rash or skin infection, you got pneumonia, you feel lousy. Somebody says, take this antibiotic. You're going to take it. Why? Because you feel bad. Now, think about it. Somebody says, take this antibiotic for 14 days. By day 7, you feel back to normal. How many people keep taking it for 14 days? Okay, we got a couple, but I'm going to tell you, the vast majority of people will stop once they feel better. Why? Because at that point, they say, I'm back to normal. But because you feel normal, don't make you normal. And that is the issue that I'm trying to get people to understand. This is about not it's always about how you feel. How you feel is important, but it's deeper than how you feel. The deeper part is how is it affecting you? Let me ask you this question. You have a blood pressure of I'm just going to throw a number, 140 over 80. And that's your chronic blood pressure. Are you at risk for anything with a pressure of 140 over 80? Will you potentially develop some other problem? The answer is yes. What are those things you have to look out for? What can hypertension do to your body? We know it can cause heart attack. We brought that up. What else can hypertension do? Strokes. 140 top number. If that's where you live, you have a 4-time incidence of stroke over the normal population. 4 times risk of having a stroke. If you're 130, you have a 2-time risk for stroke. That's why we push so hard to get people's blood pressure controlled, because of that relative risk. What else can it do? We say stroke, we say heart attack. What else can hypertension do? Kidneys. Man, your guys are on it today. Kidney failure. Go in a dialysis unit. How many whites you see in a dialysis unit? Think about it. Go to any dialysis unit in any city in the Hampton Roads area and look at the racial makeup. I guarantee you're going to see a probably 90-10 ratio. In my practice, I probably have 60-40 African American and white patients. And out of my dialysis patients, I think I carry roughly about 10,000 patients on my profile. I guarantee I have 2 white patients on dialysis. The rest of them are African American. And why? Because we ignore the signs. Hypertension, diabetes, those are the 2 big risk factors that causes kidney failure. 2 big ones. And why? Because we ignore the signs. I got to fight with folks left and right all day long about trying to get them to take care of themselves. And I'm going to tell you, it's hard when you care about people and you try to get them to see you're going down a path of destruction and it's hard to convince people because they're so used to doing things a certain way, and that is probably the hardest thing for me as a physician, because I care about people. I always have. That's mostly why I went to this business, was because I like taking care of folks. I like helping people. And if I can make an impact, then I feel like that's my charge. He put me in charge of, is to say, how do I make an impact on your life to have you live your best life? And that is doing what I can to help. So it's tough when you see people and I'm gonna tell you, I know people. I read them a mile away. I know when they're lying to me. I can look in your eyes. And when they say, oh, I'm taking my medicine every day. Really? I say, let me see them pills. They don't even want to bring their pills to me, because I'm going to look at them. I say, listen, it says 30 days. You got 20 pills in this 30-day bottle, and you filled it 8 months ago. I said, unless you got magic bean pills, they'll pop back in this bottle. I don't think you really taking them every day. Oh, that's an old bottle. I just put my pills in that one. I said, well, where'd you get the old pills from? I said, come on now. I said, the only thing I want you to be is upfront. If you say, Doc, I won't take it. I mean, fine, I deal with that. But I don't know why we lie. I tell people, listen, I came off the corner growing up. I know when folks lying to me. I said, don't do that. Just be honest with yourself. If you're overweight. I mean, if you weigh 350 pounds and you're only 5'1", you know you're overweight. Come on. And I'm trying to tell them, I said, but Doc, I don't hardly eat anything. I said, okay. I saw you at McDonald's the other day. I saw you at Burger King the day before that. I shouldn't say that, because that means I must have been there too. Anyway, get it back to it. But I like to keep these light, because I want you guys to enjoy what we're talking about, but I want you to get something out of it. So I like to joke when we're doing this stuff, because again, if I sit here and bore you half to death, you'll fall asleep in them chairs and wonder, well, what did he say? I don't want you doing that. I want you engaged. I want you to hear what I have to say. But I say all this to say this. These chronic illnesses lead to what we get in trouble with, like the diabetes and the hypertension and the high cholesterol levels causing heart attack, stroke, kidney failure. Heart failure is the other thing that hypertension can do. If your pressure is 140, you have a 50% risk, 50% of developing heart failure in 5 years. 50%. I mean, and these things take us away from here. Our life expectancy is lower than it should be. And why? Because we ignore the signs. That's the part I want you to take out of that. Make sure because I talk too much. So I got 5 good minutes left. So this is what I wanted to chat with you about. We talked about risk factors for heart stuff, and I want you to hear that, because I want you to make sure you get yourself checked. Don't ignore the signs. Don't blow it off. If you know you're overweight, just admit to it and figure out, how do you get yourself in a better place? That's the key thing for that. Secondly, if your blood pressure is high, don't ignore it. It's not going to go away on its own. Ignorance is bliss. Sitting back and say, well, I ain't going to check it. Now, a lot of people they got a scale there. Listen, that scale has got cobwebs on it. They ain't never gotten on it. Why do that? Understand, because look at it like this. You have an obligation. If you're married, you got children, you have an obligation to be there for them. I tell husbands and wives all the time, your obligation is to each other. Don't be selfish. Don't think it's not all about you. Once you said I do, you have a higher obligation. And it's not, oh man, my wife be fine. No, you don't know that. My husband be all right without me. No, you don't know that. They wouldn't have, you hope they wouldn't have married. You hope they wouldn't have, but we know different. But go on the assumption that your marriage is good. Your obligation is to that other person, to be there for them, because you went into this together. Just like you said a vow to him. You want to keep that vow. COVID-19. I know y'all sick of hearing about COVID-19. I'm sick of talking about it. But that's the reality of what we got. I tell people all the time, I mean, I'm fighting vaccine stuff all the time. I don't want to take it. I don't know what it's going to do to me. They want to follow what I'm doing all the time. Nobody care what you're doing. I mean, come on. I mean, really? I mean, you know, I tell people all the time, I had some dude tell me that. I said, you ain't got no job, no money. Who care what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? You know, I said, so, I mean, come on, get real on this stuff. This is not about trying to figure out, I mean, all these, I mean, I tell people, y'all watch too much TV. I say, this is not about trying to figure out a conspiracy theory to take out all the brothers and the sisters. Hey, this ain't about that. This is we're in a pandemic and a virus that kills people. I've had family members, I've had close friends of mine die of COVID-19. And everyone I've had die had not been vaccinated. Fighting with them left and right. You know, and I say, listen, you know, you worry about vaccine side effects. Who cares? When you look at COVID, I can tell people all the time, I say COVID-19 vaccine side effects, I can predict the least and the most you'll experience. COVID-19 infection, that's different. I don't know what you're gonna get, and you don't know either. I got people, I'm healthy already. That ain't got nothing to do with getting a virus, because that virus's job, and that virus's only job, is to take over you as a host, replicate and survive. And that means your destruction. It'll do what it's got to do. Because in its mind, it's just doing what it's trained to do. It's to survive. You know, and it's going to tear your body up the whole time. I got folks, them long hauler people that, you know, come to my office 6 months after they've had COVID, still can't taste or smell anything, got oxygen flaring behind them. You know, can't have talk. I had a dude back in, I think in January, I had him at Norfolk General, was on a ventilator. And I'm gonna tell you, most people go on a ventilator don't come off. This guy, by the grace of God, and only by the grace of God, came off that ventilator. He came in the office, can't have talk. I said, dude, listen, we're giving shots here, man. I want you to get your shot. I don't want that. I said, what do you mean you don't want it? I don't know what it's gonna do to me. Dude, you just came off of a machine and you worry about a shot? I said, listen, look at the data. Don't believe the hype on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Them folks don't know what they talking about. I don't care. I've had docs I'm going toe to toe with. I'm an ex-Duke guy. I'm a scientist. God is my first person, but my science is my second. I look at the facts. I look at the data. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at what Joe Blow down the street tells me. He don't know nothing. You know, this guy has no medical understanding of anything. I live on the science. Don't let these politicians get you in a place you don't want to be. You know, I'm like, and to be honest with you, shucks, we don't need a virus to kill us. Heck, we just got a means and opportunity and a gun. We do it without anybody else's help. So why live it like that? You know, listen, if you have family members, or even if you haven't gotten vaccinated, don't mess around with this stuff. This stuff is serious. You know, I mean, when you see, I've had 70 plus patients die of COVID-19. I don't want to see anybody else die. Not like that. I mean, if you do things, you know, the Lord has plans for us we can't always change. But He gave us a brain, and that brain's to use it. So use it. Understand what you got. Arm yourself with information, but not information that you get off some street corner. Get it with information that makes sense. Go to reputable websites. You know, look at places like Hopkins, Chapel Hill. They all have reputable public health sites that you could get information from. Get the facts. Don't work on fiction. Last thing, make sure your cancer screenings. Make sure prostate. That's what gets us more than anything else is prostate cancer. And you won't feel a thing until your urine blacks up. You know, if you're over 50, I mean, you know, go ahead and get your prostate checked out. I know, man, anybody want to go have no thick finger places you don't want to go. I understand that. But bottom line is, if you're trying to live, you know, you want to get checked out. One of my boys got prostate cancer, a fraternity brother of mine from college. And I don't even want to say what his PSA level was. Kept ducking and dodging. I'm asking him every time, you go yet? I'm going to go. Finally decided to go after, I had to call his wife, make him go. That's the wife's job, always beat us up. You know, because sometimes we need to be beat up to figure out what we need to do. So he finally went, of course, had prostate cancer. And the reason I did, because his father died of prostate cancer. And that's a totally preventable illness, or one that you could catch early and cure it. But you got to go and get it checked out. Get your colonoscopies done. Women, get your mammograms done. You know, go ahead and do it. Don't wait for your doctor to tell you to get it. My doctor didn't tell me I need it. You guys can read. You read well. you know, you understand where you are in your life, what are the things you need to know about your health, and go ahead and get it done. You know, make sure you're getting those screenings done. That's how you stay alive in this mess, because the responsibility is still yours. I'm not dismissing doctors' responsibility, but in the end, if something happens to you, I have patients get mad at the doctor. I ain't going back to him. He said something hurt my feelings. I said, so your answer is the fireman then don't get any help? Who's the only one that's gonna get hurt out that deal? Because that doctor ain't thinking about you. I said, he's gone about his way, you know, and you out here about to die of a heart attack or a stroke because you think you punishing him. I mean, come on. So, in conclusion, get yourself checked. Don't mess around. Get your just go at least once a year. As you get older, you're supposed to be going more than that, but listen, I take whatever I get. If you guys could go at least once a year, get yourself checked out. Make sure you're following your blood pressure. If you have hypertension, don't ignore the signs. You have diabetes, it's not going to go away on its own. Make sure you get yourself checked out. Look at this COVID-19 stuff. Get your vaccination. Encourage those people who you love to get it. And what I try to tell people all the time is this thing is not about you. This is about who you're affecting. You know, I mean, this isn't like, you know, if you have kidney failure, the only person who's going to get affected by kidney failure is you. I mean, other than the fact that, you know, your family loves you, but you can't give them kidney failure. Only they can give themselves kidney failure, but you can give them COVID-19. So think about what you do affects not just you if it's COVID-19. So get your vaccination, protect yourself. Make sure you get your yearly checks up. Make sure you're getting your screening tests done. That is how you stay alive, and that's how you serve your God best, because God needs you here, serving others, not with him. He'll take you when he's ready for you, but don't rush it. I like living, I like life. You know, I want it more abundantly. So, you know, and I'm hoping that you feel the same. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna open the floor for any questions you may have. Thank you very much. I'm gonna come back here to you. Hopefully the mic can go back this far. I want you to say what your question is.
Question is, I have a stent. And I'm trying every type of stent that contains the shot, the pill, and penicillin, that's what I'm doing. Can't get any type of stent. So, is there anything, because my cardiologist, really out. I had a five something. I'm in a position. They put me on a low cholesterol diet. It lasts for as long as the coach and mom and mother.
So the question was, he's had multiple stents placed in his heart, and he knows how cholesterol impacts that. And he can't take the statin drugs. Statin drugs are cholesterol medications. Some people can take, some people can't. It can have certain side effects, but if you look at all the data, that's one of the few drugs that's been shown in every study to adequately prevent heart disease. But one of the alternatives of statins, they do make an injectable cholesterol medication that we use a lot. One's called Repatha, one's Praluent. You usually either give it twice a month to yourself or once a month, almost like you would give yourself insulin. But it's a cholesterol medication, and I have seen that drop cholesterol levels like dirt low. I had one lady that had a 400 cholesterol level, went down to 120 with this injectable medication. And it has been shown to prevent coronary disease. But your docs have to be engaged in getting that done. So if you can't tolerate statins, they've tried at least 2, you can get approved for that, and that would resolve that issue that you have. Any other questions? Yes, sir. That's okay. I need to exercise. I'm going to talk and stuff. I got to make up this before.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a statement. All veterans, there is no need for you not to have medical coverage because the VA covers all veterans free of charge. Medication and everything. And it's an epidemic of veterans that don't have medical coverage, and you can get VA coverage. All you have to do is go online, sign up, or go to your nearest VA facility.
Thank you very much. So, you guys heard it. Any other questions? I have one final statement that I want to make. And it came out of that reflective statement that brother just made. Make sure in November you go vote. A lot of people blow that off, and our people more notoriously. Why do we not get things? Because we don't go vote. And I'll tell you what is interesting. Politicians listen to votes. You may not think they do, but they do. The problem is we've never had a unified voice to get things done. You know, we're not engaged with things. These other folks, you know, they cough up a ton of money, these dudes, and they get a lot of stuff. But whether money can't buy is a vote. You know, don't think that your vote doesn't mean anything, you know, because it does. And how you institute change is by making sure when people know you're a threat to them in the political world, oh, they'll listen. That's about the only time they listen. You see all them come around when it's election time, then they all of a sudden they ghost after the election's done. You know, but we allow that to happen. We don't push the envelope with them. I said, listen, you can't come back unless what are you doing for us? Like Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? You know, so the thing is, hold their feet to the fire. But the only way you can do it is you have to go and make your voice heard. I know that's a cliche, and everybody says it. People get up and always say, go vote, go vote. And I'm gonna keep saying it because that's how you institute change, is by making sure people understand what you need in your life, which is you take care of your families. You know, in order to do that, you got to go vote, because otherwise they're gonna blow you off. Thank you very much.
On the blood pressure you was talking about, isn't it two different gauges from the white and the black, or is it all should be one gauge?
It's all one gauge.
It is.
Yeah, it's all one gauge. The thing is, how you treat people with blood pressure problems is different, because whites and blacks are different, you know, in terms of the racial makeup, the physical makeup, you know. If you look up the data, it's pretty clear. African Americans respond better to calcium channel blockers and diuretics. You know, whites respond better to ACE inhibitors and ACE receptor blockers. That's the response, but we still mix and match because there are other beneficial effects that you have. But the actual number is the same. It's just like weight. I get, you know, people say BMI, oh, that ain't made for black people. I said, well, where you get that from? I said, if you're overweight, you're overweight. You know, I mean, and listen, and I know it's hard for us because our lifestyles are such that we don't have that mindset. But look at the life expectancy of whites and blacks. For the most part, it's almost a 10-year difference between whites and blacks in life expectancy, with whites living 10 years longer than African Americans do. Why? Because of how we take care of ourselves, or don't take care of ourselves. Yes, sir. No. You talking about like B positive?
B positive, A and O and A.
Well, as far as we know, no.
Okay.
You know, I always keep that open because, again, as science unfolds, you know, we learn new things.
Is this O negative to me is a garbage type blood. Okay. When the reason I say that type is because when I do research on it, as a result of my research, people with the O negative seem to get blood pressure, not only blood pressure, get sickness quicker than people with A, because the food that A person consume, it seems to let them know there's something wrong quicker than O does.
Well, you know, I tell you, I can't say that for a fact. I've never seen any data that says that. I do know that if you're an O, you're the universal donor. You can give blood to anybody. You know, whether or not that impacts, I don't know. I do see a trend where I know when we're dealing with a lot of patients with heart failure and people need transplant, I was seeing a lot of O's in there, but I don't know that that's always, there's no trend, there's no data that says that per se. We see things anecdotally, meaning we see trends, and we may say this looks like that may be the case, but there's no hard and fast data that supports that. And I would always tell people this: be careful of Dr. Google. Be careful, because what you see up there is, you know, just I can put anything on the net I want to put. You know, anything I want to put up there, I can put up there. Don't make it fact. So make sure, again, when you're looking things up, look at the source in which it comes. And make sure that's a reputable source, because you can put anything up there you want. Don't make it fact. So just be careful when you're looking that stuff up. Same thing I say with vaccine, same thing with COVID, same thing with any of this stuff. Make sure it's a reputable site. Look at like things like Mayo Clinic, Duke, Johns Hopkins, places that have reputable, like I think Cleveland Clinic, places with reputable sites of information that you know you can depend on, that's accurate and not just somebody making it up. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much for Dr. Keith Newby being with us today. We could not pay him enough to come and speak to us, but we do want to show you a token of appreciation to thank you for your coming and your time, and we appreciate your being a part of our men's health forum today. Thank you very much.
Well, let me say one thing. My premise in life is to help others. So what I would prefer, with your permission of course, is that I'm sure you have some people of need that would love to have something to eat. I would like to donate this back to the church to give it to somebody who needs it more than I do, because I don't need nothing else to eat. So I mean, and that's not to say anything negative. I appreciate it. I do. But I want somebody who needs it to have it. I do things because I love doing it. I'm in my element out here, as you could probably tell. So anything I can do to help my fellow man, I'm gonna keep doing.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Keith Newby.